What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is time for the Week 5 NFL picks and predictions video. Last week didn't do so good, had the worst week so far of the season, went 8-7, still got more right than wrong, but the previous 3 weeks was able to get 10 wins apiece. Last week going 8-7, so on the year I am 38-24, so not too bad, but want to get better. We want to try to aim for 11 or 12 right. We want to kind of have our best week, so hopefully this week can be that week. Tonight, kicking off Week 5 is the Rams, the Seahawks. I think this is going to be a very entertaining game. I believe that this is going to be one of the better Thursday night games. Last week was a really great Thursday night game, and I think this week will be another good one, especially because it's a division rival. Both teams 3-1. Both teams have been very solid this year. The Rams, while they are 3-1, they're just not as impressive as they were the last couple years, in my opinion. Jared Goff has been struggling a little bit. I don't know. Something about the Rams just seems a little off to me right now. The Seahawks, I don't think are the better team talent-wise, but I think that they perform well for who they are. And they're at home, and, you know, beating them at home can be definitely the task. In a primetime game especially, I'm going to go with the Seahawks tonight. I expect Russell Wilson to have a nice game tonight against those Rams, but I do think it'll be a very, very close game, probably within 3 points. Panthers at Jaguars. This is definitely a tough one here. Like, the Panthers are really hard to kind of put your finger on right now. Last week I had them losing to the Texans. I think that was, you know, a pick that made sense, but you know, defensively, they played really good. They held the Texans in check. Offensively, they didn't do a whole lot, but they did enough to win. Kyle Allen didn't really have his best game between the defense and McCaffrey. That was enough for them to win. They're at home this week. The Jags are kind of having a little bit of a spark with Gardner Minshew. They're playing pretty decent football. So this is honestly just an extremely tough game to pick. I'm going to go with the Jags here. This is probably one of the tougher games of the week for me. I'm going to go with the Jags. I think the Minshew magic might just be real. I think they're going to carry on, and I think it's going to be tough for the Panthers offensively to do a lot versus the Jags defense, and I think the Jags offense will be able to do enough, but we'll see. I'm going to take the Jags in this one, but definitely one of the tougher games of the week in my opinion. Patriots at Redskins. I mean, we're going to keep this short and sweet. Patriots going to keep rolling. The Patriots have really not had to face the toughest of opponents so far yet this year. Just to be honest so far, but it is what it is. They're playing who's on their schedule, and they're winning. Last week, the Bills might have had a chance there. It was close, but the Redskins are definitely one of the worst teams in the league. Outside of the Dolphins, man, the Redskins might look the worst. Obviously, the Bengals are up there as well, but man, it's just hard to see, even at home, the Redskins slowing down Tom Brady and the Patriots. So we're going to take the Patriots in this one easy. I'm pretty sure everybody will. Bills at Titans. This is another one of those tough ones this week. You got two teams that I would say the Bills are playing solid. The Titans are playing solid as well. The Titans, you kind of never really know what you're going to get. The Bills, I guess they're both kind of similar. You know with both teams you're going to get really good defense, but offensively you don't really know what you're going to get. Last week, Titans offensively, they just made the Falcons look silly, and I picked the Falcons to win, but it's very clear the Falcons are just a mess right now with all the talent they have. They can't stop anything, and they can't really score a whole lot for some reason. It's really crazy. But this game is definitely one of the tougher ones of the week because they're both solid teams, but again, two teams it's kind of hard to put a finger on like who they really are. Josh Allen might play, might not play, but I don't think that makes the biggest of differences for the Bills because I think what Barkley can do when he comes in from a throwing perspective, obviously he doesn't have the arm strength or the mobility of Josh Allen, but I would argue that Barkley might be a little bit more accurate and a little bit better of a decision maker. So I don't think that Josh Allen being out completely hurts the Bills. It hurts them a little bit, obviously, but I don't think it's the biggest of impacts. But we're going to have to go with the Titans here just because you got two solid teams, two good defensive teams. Titans at home, I think you take the home team in some of these situations where it's a tough matchup and the opponents are kind of evenly matched. So I'm going to go with the Titans on this one. Ravens at Steelers. The Ravens are now beginning to be a team that's kind of hard to figure out as well. First two games, looked really good. The next two games, obviously against the Chiefs, you kind of expected them to lose against the Chiefs. But last week against the Browns, I definitely thought they would handle the Browns, and they didn't. Definitely struggled in that game. The Steelers obviously are struggling this year. They finally got their first win of the year, but it's against the Bengals, who, you could argue is probably the second worst team in the league. So The Ravens have to have the advantage in this matchup. Tough division game. It's an away game for them, but they're just the more talented team, so I'm going with the Ravens in this one. Cardinals at Bengals. This is another tough one because you got two teams that aren't very good, and anything can happen when two bad teams meet up. The Bengals, obviously no A.J. Green. Not even sure if he's going to play this year, what it sounds like now. It's kind of, if he does come back, it would be so late that it might not even be worth it. John Ross is now on injured reserve, so that's a tough one. The Cardinals, I think did they lose Christian Kirk as well, I believe. So it's like it's two teams that are, they're losing a couple guys. They're both not very good. They're both, kind of trying to go through the rebuilding process. I'm just going to take the Bengals because they're at home. Give the home team the edge when it's really tough to pick. The Cardinals could get their first one this week, though. They definitely could, but I think the Bengals, if there's one team or one outside of the Dolphins or the Redskins, if there's one other team the Bengals have the potential to beat, it will be the Cardinals. So I think the Bengals will get their first win this week. Somebody's getting their first win here. I'm gonna go with the Bengals. Falcons at Texans. I'm not even gonna think on this one much. The Falcons just look very messy right now. The Texans, I think, are a little underachieving, just a little, but the Texans at home, I think I gotta go with them versus the Falcons. But the Falcons are weird. As bad as the Falcons can be, they have a lot of talent. They have firepower. They could come out any week and just light it up. They could. And that's just the truth. They haven't really done that yet, but they could, and it wouldn't be surprising. When you got Julio, Devontae Freeman, Austin Hooper has been doing his thing. You got Calvin Ridley, Mohamed Sanu. They could light it up any week, and it's not going to be like, oh, this is crazy. That's what they're supposed to do. But the way they've been so far, I got to say the Texans take this one at home. Buccaneers at Saints. So my Saints keep surprising. Without Drew Brees, they beat the Seahawks. They win a tough one against the Cowboys without scoring a single touchdown. They're showing they can win it with defense, which is good. They're at home again this week. The Bucs are not a pushover. The Bucs are I'm not gonna say they're a good team, but they're a decent team right now. They're decent on defense. They have some decent defensive players, and they can play a good defensive game. We've seen them do it this year. And offensively, they can light it up. They lit it up last week, and usually the Bucs Saints games, especially the one in the Dome. Last year they came in there and lit it up, obviously with Fitzpatrick, but they lit it up and they won that game. And it just seems like the Bucs always get the Saints at least one time. At least these recent years, they get them one time a year. Even though the Saints are clearly the better team, this is a tough one. I'm going to go with the Saints. Obviously, at home, it's almost impossible to pick against the Saints, especially when they are the better team. But I think this is going to be a tough one. The Bucs, I wouldn't be surprised if they won it. I just know how these division matchups go with the Bucs lately, and this is going to be a tough one. The defense is going to have to come to play. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, shutting those guys down. It's going to be tough, but I think Jameis Winston inside the Dome, much like Dak Prescott, right? Dak Prescott was looking really good. He got inside the Dome. It gets a little bit rough in there. Gets loud, and the fact that the Saints actually do have a decent defense now, they can make plays. So I'm going to go with the Saints at home, but I definitely expect a bloodbath, a real slugfest in this one. Vikings at Giants. The Vikings, man, week one, they came out, and they were just looking like they were going to be a team to watch. Now it's like they struggled to score last week, obviously against the Bears, but man, it's really tough. Stephon Diggs, a lot of rumors going around if he's going to get traded or something. It's kind of like weird right now. Not sure what's going on with him. The Giants obviously aren't a great team, but they've looked a little bit better with Daniel Jones. And this is actually a tough one. I do think the Vikings are for sure the better, more talented team, the more experienced team, the more complete team. But they've been struggling a little bit, and the Giants are on a little bit of an up right now. So a little bit of a tough one here, but I'm gonna go with the Vikings. I just think they're that much better of a team. We'll see though. This game could be interesting. I wouldn't be shocked if the Giants won it at all, but we're gonna go with the Vikings here. Bears at Raiders. Kind of another tough one when you consider the fact, okay, Trubisky's out. And I don't think Trubisky's the best QB ever. I think Chase Daniel, in the situation that the Bears are in, I don't think Chase Daniel hurts the team that much. Kind of similar to the Josh Allen situation. When your defense is as good as the Bears are, And when Trubisky himself isn't the best QB, right? He's just not. We know he's not. He hasn't fully developed into that yet. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Chase Daniel is a game manager, but he's going to come in and he's not really going to lose you the game. He's not going to really win you the game, but he ain't going to lose you the game. He'll probably make less mistakes than Trubisky will, but his ceiling is capped in terms of like the running and the big playability that he has the potential to make. But the Bears defense is so good that, we saw what they did last week, even without Trubisky. They pretty much held the Vikings to no points until the very end of the game. The Vikings couldn't even cross midfield. It was just terrible. The Raiders have been playing pretty decent. They're not great, but they're not bad. They're not as bad as we thought they would be, especially after the Antonio Brown situation. They won last week. I had the Colts winning, and they went in there and they won a tough game last week. So this is actually tough to pick just from the standpoint of you have the backup QB in and the Raiders are kind of playing with a little bit of momentum, but the Chicago defense is so good that I can't really pick against them in a matchup where they're not going up against another elite team, right? Like if they were going up against the Chiefs or the Patriots, right? Like a team like that, then you say, okay, the Bears might lose that one, but the Raiders, they're just not on that same level as the Bears in my opinion. So I think even though they've been playing solid, it's going to be hard for the Raiders to score, just as it was hard for the Vikings to score last week. So I'm picking the Bears, but I think this game has the potential to be very interesting. Jets at Eagles. Well, I don't think Darnold's playing. They're saying he's back practicing, I believe, but I don't think he's going to play this week, or it might not be 100% yet. But either way, the Jets are still, they don't look very good. They're in a rebuilding phase. I don't think they're as bad as their record shows. I think if they get everybody healthy back on the same page, they should start clicking a little bit. But the Eagles really were in a must-win game in my opinion last Thursday. They won it, but they still they're even at 2-2, the Eagles, their season could go south very easily if they don't win these games that they're supposed to win. And this is a game to me they're supposed to win at home against the 0-3 team. It's not fully healthy. Obviously, the Eagles aren't fully healthy at all either. That's a big key. They're missing a lot of players as well. But the Eagles are still the better team. They're at home, and this is a game. Even when you are a little bit depleted, a good team that's depleted should still win this game. If you're going to make the playoffs, the Eagles have to win this game. They have too many tough games coming up. They can't be dropping these types of games with home field advantage. So I'm going with the Eagles. This is a game that they just have to win, in my opinion. Broncos at Chargers. The Broncos just can't seem to get a W. I don't think it's going to happen this week. The Chargers are a good team, but they are a team that can drop a game or two to the inferior team. But I got to go with the Chargers at home, obviously. The Broncos, I don't think the Broncos are nearly as bad as their 0-4 shows. I really don't think they are. They're 1-3, 2-2-ish bad, but I don't think they're winless bad. So I expect a good game, but I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one. Packers at Cowboys. This is probably outside of the Thursday night game tonight, this is probably the biggest game of the week. Really good matchup, 2-3-1 team. One of the tougher ones to pick. The Cowboys are at home, so a little bit of an advantage there. But you saw the Cowboys versus the first true test this year with the Saints, and even without Breeze, I would still, the Saints are a true test. They're a good team. They can win without Drew Brees, as we've seen. But we saw Dak finally not look as good as he has been looking when he faced a better defense. And the Packers defense, we're not really sure what the Packers defense is, because the first few weeks they looked amazing. But then last week versus the Eagles, the Packers hadn't been playing great offenses, and they finally played a team that had the potential to move the ball, has weapons, and the Eagles put up a lot of points on them. So we're not really sure how good the Packers defense is yet. But I think the Packers defense is, even after last week's performance, I don't think they're bad. I think they're at least an average to slightly above average defense. So I think you could see more Dak potentially struggling in this one. But we'll see. It's a really tough one. I'm going to go with the Packers. Definitely think it'll be a close game. But this is definitely one of the tougher games to pick. That's why it's the game of the week. It's two really good teams going up against each other. Either team could win this game, and it wouldn't be shocking. Colts at Chiefs. Definitely taking the Chiefs in this one. Colts have, they've been solid. I really thought they should have been able to beat the Raiders last week, but they dropped that one. But the Chiefs at home are one of the toughest teams to play, one of the best home field advantages, and the Chiefs are rolling right now. Had a little bit of a scare versus the Lions, which I think the Lions are actually a much better team than people are giving them credit for, so that really didn't surprise me. But the better team is the Chiefs, and they did pull it out in the end. I think they're going to win at home pretty easily in this one. Should be a pretty good Sunday night game. And then Monday we got Browns at Niners. Niners still undefeated. The Browns finally starting to click a little bit. getting Chubb more involved, and it definitely is paying off. This is another tough one to pick because the Browns are finally showing that maybe they're showing a little bit of the hype that they were getting in the preseason. That, hey, you know, they're not as bad as they looked in a couple of those losses they took. But I'm going to take the Niners at home. They're coming off a fresh week, right? They had a bye. They had an extra week to scout this team. They're undefeated for a reason. They're playing good football. They haven't played the best of teams in the world, but they've been playing good football, and they have a good team, and they're at home for a primetime game. The crowd should be alive, and they've had an extra week of rest and an extra week to prepare for this team. So I think there's just too many advantages in the Niners' favor for this one, so I'm going with the Niners. Let me know below, who do you have tonight, Seahawks or Rams? Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I will see you guys next time.